Hi there, my name is FixFox, and welcome to Heroes of Might and Magic 2. This is the F-Heroes edition. And on that note, I want to start this video off by conveying something that I consider to be very important and something I'm really glad to share with you. In the comments of Scenario 1 for the Roland campaign, the first video that we've started here, one of the team members for the FHeroes2 edition, they have reached out to me. And first off, they said some very complimentary things, which are high praise coming from people who are invested in the passion project. And they also took the time to give me some feedback and some clarification on things that were either incomplete that I have said or just not quite right. And I'll tell you right now, if at any point in any of these videos you hear me say something that is not quite right, or you have a question about, or if you know better than me, please, I want to hear from the comments. I would much rather that I be proven wrong than let something wrong be perpetuated. And so I'm grateful for the opportunity to get to associate with some of the FHeroes2 team members. And I did want to read just straight from their comment some of the feedback that they had for me. This individual is Zentz, and they indicate the following. I figured I'd clear up some of the things mentioned in the video. One is that we don't have access to any of the original Heroes2 source code. If we did, then that would be a huge legal issue due to infringing the original's copyright. So FHeroes2 AI is all its own thing, coded by us. I love to hear that. Thank you for that. I was under the impression that I wasn't sure where the rebuild started or began. That's very good information. And with the AI, good work. I think I've mentioned in general some of the improvements that I've noticed are things like splitting stacks, retreating at the appropriate time, and then also knowing when to cut losses and just trying to knock down my troop sizes. Those are some things that I've noticed with the AI in battle in particular, but also in general. I haven't seen any just dumb decisions really. So good work. I appreciate that, and thank you for clarifying that. Furthermore, another point is that we haven't made balance changes to creatures and such, which it seemed like you had the impression of. There are some gameplay changes like nerfing retreat plus lightning bolt spamming, and being able to revisit objects on the adventure map with the spacebar. And so I was under the impression, and I did say that wrong. I probably said that in a few videos, that there have been some balance changes. I thought that some creatures' numbers may have been tweaked a little bit. I'm actually happy to hear that that's not the case, because I don't think there was anything wrong with the game in the first place. But in general, maybe I misread that somewhere. Maybe I'm not sure why I had that impression. But good to know that there are no actual balance changes at this time. Gameplay changes like nerfing the retreat and lightning spamming, absolutely. That's been a thing. One of the most frustrating strategies has always been things like attacking an enemy with a hero that you have one Phoenix with, run Armageddon, and then just retreat. Yeah, if we're talking about the same thing here, then you see the same problem that I did. And then revisiting objects on the adventure map with the spacebar. I'm not quite sure exactly what that is. I'm wondering if it has to do with the stone liths, the doodad on the map that allows you to transport from one part of the map to another set part of the map. Sometimes it can be a whole system of those stone liths interconnected, and you would often just hit the spacebar to pop out exactly where you wanted to. Since it doesn't cost any movement points, there's no challenge or struggle in coming out exactly where you want to. And perhaps this is an example where they said, you know, that might be a little too strong. At the very least, you probably need to spend a little bit of movement points just to get in and out and on with your life. The comment goes on to say, you also mentioned how we added the info in the lower right corner about what resource you pick up, but that was there in the original game. My bad on that too. I remembered that to a certain degree, some objects that you would interact with on the map, there would be a text box in the very middle of the screen. And I suppose I completely forgot that some like random resources, for example, that's what this instance was referencing. Picking up random resources that are just laying there on the map. I remembered it having a text box that said, oh, you picked up 8 ore this time, or you picked up 3 crystal, just to really kind of put it in your face of exactly what it was. I was wrong, and I'm happy to hear that I was wrong. Thank you for that clarification as well. So with that being said, again, if anyone who watches my videos sees me put out some false information, please correct me. I'd love to hear from you in the comments, and I appreciate the involvement and the community reach out. And I appreciate the opportunity, just as someone who's playing through this, to get to talk to somebody who's actually involved in the Passion Project again. So with that being said, we're moving on to scenario number 5 for the Roland campaign. If you recall, we were at a very interesting spot, and I said that we would talk a little bit more about it today. I didn't want to spoil anything. I kind of left it on a cliff note about what we could expect from this. So we're going to hit load game and pop into the 5th scenario. I am going to increase my volume here. Again, I've gotten some good feedback that the intros are a little too quiet. So let me just manually increase the volume on these, and then I'll readjust it after the intro so you can hear it as well.
Our seizure of the Karator mines has strengthened our position immeasurably. This strength, in turn, has begun to convince some of the more cautious lords to join our righteous struggle. 2 of these neutrals have finally agreed to join our side. Their strongholds lie in a key valley that must be controlled in order to maintain supply lines to Archibald's castle. Your orders are to raise an army from the local population and launch an attack against the other 2 disloyal barons in the valley. Once this objective has been achieved, we will be firmly in control of the continent's resources and will at last shift from defense to offense.
General, this is King Archibald speaking. Your exploits in the field have impressed me, and I have decided to offer you one chance to join me and receive a proper reward. I can offer riches and power that my brother can only dream of. Wealth and power against the certainty of the hangman's noose when I inevitably crush my brother's feeble forces. Well, what do you say?
Okay. So, as you can hear from that, we have our normal option here in the campaign, where we can continue as the good steward for Roland's armies, and as you see the shields here, and there's different ways you can navigate these shields. It says for the Roland campaign, your enemies are allied against you and start close by, so be ready to come out fighting. You will need to own all 4 castles in this small valley to win. Okay, but then also in the second part of the campaign intro comes another voice who says it's Archibald, the Roland's evil brother, and instead of being called Turning Point, the scenario is called Betrayal. Switching sides leaves you with 3 castles against the enemy's 1. This battle will be the easiest one you face for the rest of the war. Traitor. Ooh, buddy. Ooh, buddy. I don't see a lot of games that give you this kind of option midway through to just straight up switch sides. And it really does. This isn't some kind of trick. This isn't some kind of like, oh, I wanted to see if you'd be loyal to me or not. If you choose the evil campaign here, if you decide to go with Betrayal instead of Turning Point, you will pick up the Archibald campaign henceforth at this point. With that being said, we're here to play the Roland campaign. Very honored, Archibald, that you've heard of our exploits in the field. Glad to hear that you think that we'd be a good choice for the Hangman's Noose, should we say no. You want to be a thorn in their side a little bit. But instead of switching sides, we're going to stay with Roland, and we're going to see this thing all the way through. So, we're going to maintain the Dwarven Alliance Award. We are going to be 1 against 3, it sounds like. There's 4 castles on this small map. Wizard, Sorceress, or Knight? Who do we choose? I don't have any particular choice. Knowing that it's probably a small map, since it says it's a small valley, I'm going to go with the Knights in this instance. For the same reason we've talked about in times past, Knights on a small map generally do better. And Wizard's going to be my go-to on the absolute hardest maps. That's my personal preference of the 3 towns. So I'm going to play another Knight game because I think it'll fit the map, and I think that we can carry on with that. So let's dive right in. Difficulty, as always, is on hard. And let's get to it. One of your allies has joined Archibald. You now face an opponent with 3 castles to your 1. Good luck. Alrighty, and as you can see, this is a very small map. You can see just kind of where the border is and the mini map on the upper right. With that being said, I think it is a little bit larger than the second scenario was. Not by much, but it is a little larger. So I think that some benefits we have now are we're in a corner as opposed to being in the very center of the map. It looks like, as of right now anyway, that the tile set is in our favor. The other scenario 2, very, very small map, had things like swamp in there that were difficult to traverse. And knowing that we've got the correct faction for the size of the map, we may be able to just pull out another solid victory. So let's start up and get right into it. We're going to start with Dimitri the Knight. 2 attack, 2 defense, 1 spell power, 1 knowledge, a whole stack of peasants. And this is interesting. Our castle is very, very bare. We can recruit peasants right now, and that's it. With only 7,500 gold and a few meager, precious resources, I'm a little concerned about building this up. Recall that the knights usually focus on wood primarily, with their 2 main level 5 and level 6 creature dwellings taking 20 wood each. But a little concerning if I'm trying to get a mage guild. I can get 1 level of mage, well, I can get 2 levels of mage guild. Base costs a little bit of wood and a little bit of ore, and then basically 5 precious resources from thenceforth. Knowing that it's low on gold with only 7,500, knowing I have to build all of my creature dwellings, and knowing that I don't start with a large army or many benefits, I wonder, is this a map where I forego a second hero? Is a second hero going to help me or hurt me here? Would I prefer to have that 2,500 gold placed elsewhere? Difficult to say. There's so many loose resources hanging all around here. It's very difficult to say. I'm guessing that for a fast start, it will be useful to have a second hero, but perhaps this is the first map where I truly have 2 heroes of equal strength working in tandem together. That's my plan as it currently stands. And with that being said, 2,500 of my 7,500 gold is already spoken for. Let's see where this goes. Alrighty. So I am going to recruit all of these archers and the peasants here. There are these battle dwarves. Remember, we have the Dwarven Alliance. I want to see what the sign says. I'm very glad I read that sign. That inspires me to no end. We're going to pick up these battle dwarves. That is 26 battle dwarves. That's massive. And in fact, before I do anything else, I'm going to split these dwarves into 3 stacks. I got a feeling that that will be most helpful rather than just having 1 power stack. Generally, with my main hero, I try to expand or see what I can pick up immediately. Because, again, there's so many loose resources, let's just grab everything we can. I have no spell book. I need to get a spell book. A 2nd level blind spell right here is crucial. Every hero in my army should have blind moving forward. We have Gwyneth as my secondary hero, and we're going to send her out to the right along the road. And immediately I'm actually going to have her go and get my sawmill. I can see that there's a sword here right next to the sawmill. I'm not sure who the defenders are. Lots of halflings. Really, the Knight faction won't do a good job of dealing with ranged units until we can get champions or the cavalries. I can still fight this fight. In fact, I will, but I'm going to do so knowing that I'm probably going to be losing a significant amount of troops. Right now, I think it's worth it. I really do, because you got to have your wood early. You got to have it often, and I want to get that income started as soon as possible. A fountain. As I drink the sweet water, you gain luck for your next battle. So +1 luck. I pause to help a diplomat with a broken axle fix his problem. In gratitude, he gives you a writing quill with magical properties, which he says will help people see things your way. It reduces the surrender cost to only 10% of the total cost of troops. That might be very valuable on a small map like this. Having the opportunity to run without having to spend all my money, I could see that being very important. I will take the experience as opposed to just the gold. I think scouting is going to be pretty important. Even though this is a small map, good decision making is never a bad option. With lots of halflings there, I think rather than just have one hero fight, I am going to combine the heroes and then redistribute the units right after. Let's get, well, I suppose I need a well, otherwise I can't get any other creature dwellings. And let's just start picking up some of these resources. I will have Dimitri be the one to pull the trigger on this fight. I will send over everyone I possibly can, and again, 3 slots of dwarves. I wonder if the enemy is going to, if the halflings will focus down the archers first, the dwarves first, or the peasants. I'm guessing the archers because that makes the most sense, but let's find out. The halflings want to run because I have enough powerful or enough units in my army. They want to run. I'm going to let them. I don't care how many it is. I don't want to lose the troops early, especially in a small map. I feel like every single troop I have that I can save is going to be valuable. So even though I didn't fight the battle, I didn't get the experience, I don't feel bad about, sharing the troops for a quick second. I'm going to split these archers back. I'm going to split these dwarves into 2 stacks. And then I will split the peasants into 2 stacks as well. So I have 2 equal armies, at least until I get some battle dwarves. But them's the breaks, Gwyneth. Them is the breaks. I assume that Dimitri is going to clean all these up. So let me get a little bit of presence on the map. Because I see this wasteland tile and terrain here, I think it will be helpful, especially for a secondary hero, to have good logistical movement on the adventure map. So pathfinding is going to be my choice here, especially since I don't if I'm going to have 2 fairly equal power units or heroes, but I still am probably going to have one hero be my main hero to fight in-game battles. That is the hero I want the ballistics with. And since Guinevere or Gwyneth already has ballistics anyway, I'm not going to lose out on pathfinding just for a maybe later. Let's start getting some pikemen. This is an artifact that will keep you from getting hypnotized. No, it'll double the effectiveness of my hypnotize spells. In reward for helping his cart out of a ditch, a traveling potion salesman gives you a magic gold watch. Unbeknownst to him, the watch really is magic. The gold watch doubles the effectiveness of your hypnotize spells. Right now, I don't even have a spell book, so right now it's just a pretty little watch. With the choice, do I go left and start cleaning up these, or do I kind of go into the wasteland? I'm guessing that this looks like a mine just off of the adventure map in the Fog of War. And so I'm guessing it's also going to be guarded by something. But getting some early mines might also be very valuable. I'm going to try and travel on the road. Remember, I can move further on the road. And I'll pick up as many of these dwarves as I possibly can. The dwarves recognize me and join my forces. I'm going to have the... This is so weird. Usually by now I have the statue. Every single playthrough I have, I usually go statue early. I'm going to get as many troops as I can before the end of the week. And I'll forego a little bit of extra gold now just to make sure I get as many troops as possible. On a small map, I just really think that's going to be important, especially since all I started with was the thatched hut for the peasants. There's my ore, and I didn't even have to fight anybody for it. Interesting, I've already got 2 trading posts. I wonder if this map is going to have one of each type of mine. It's possible, if there's 2 trading posts out here, that the game's intent, or the intent with the theme for this map, is scarcity, and then be creative to find other ways of getting what you need. We saw just in the opposing hero's turn that there was someone right there in the fog. They didn't come towards me. That's good. I do have a +3 defense with a total of 6 defense right now, and a very large army, which I am going to split these dwarves not into 3 stacks. I'm going to split them into 2 stacks. And right now I feel like being able to get further on the road, and getting an observation tower is going to solve all my problems. I can see pretty much the whole darn map right now, can't I? Oh my word. Okay, so, oh my word, look at this. I can walk right into this town. There are no defenders in the warlock, or excuse me, the necromancer red town in the bottom right. I suppose that their hero just moved north. Okay, okay. But this is left undefended completely. Just to make sure that nothing weird happens, I am going to move both my heroes towards that area. So if all of a sudden there's a whole ton of defenders in there that they've purchased, I'll be able to still combine armies and make sure that I'm able to take that town. Other points of interest I see. So there is an alchemist lab for mercury. There is a crystal mine. There is sulfur. There are gems. And then other important points of interest. Hill fort, just in case there are any non-upgraded dwarves. But here's the deal. Battle dwarves. So that'll be an excellent stack to build my own units. There's battle dwarves here. Guarding an artifact. It looks like a +1 to morale. Dwarves here. Guarding a treasure chest and a gazebo. Dwarves here. There's dwarves everywhere. I think that it behooves me to get as fast of a start out. And actually, I took this preparatory step south with Gwyneth, just in case, we do need assistance here. But otherwise, if this doesn't really change much, and Dimitri can pick up these dwarves, I'm going to send Gwyneth immediately north to recruit as many of these dwarves into my possession as possible so nobody else goes out and takes them. Now, another thing that's interesting. So there's 4 castles on this map. There's mine, bottom right, top right, and I assume that this is one in the upper left. I don't know how many heroes are on the board right now, but if it is just one, then we have distinct advantage. My concern is that there's somebody right here in the darkness on a road who can move in one turn and at least threaten, and maybe go from the darkness all the way to here perhaps, and really cause me some concern there. Let's see how this goes. And all this information, everything I've been talking about for the last 4 minutes is coming because we hit this observation tower and all of a sudden it's like we can see again. So wonderful. I appreciate that was there. I feel much better already about this game. We are going to take the armory and move on to the next turn. Okay, that's actually very interesting with that hero. So I know that there is 2 heroes on the map at the moment. This castle is still completely undefended. We're not going to be trading any resources. We were just going in there to get some additional movement points just by walking that way instead of all the way around. And then I am going to send Gwyneth, like we talked about, up north into this section here. Uh-oh. Hello? That was strange. My apologies. Okay. I'm playing in the windowed version of the game, so I accidentally clicked, and I'm glad I double-checked to make sure that everything is still working. We are going to get the jousting arena, as many offensive units as we can. End turn. Okay, and now, before there was just the horse rearing up on the adventure map to indicate that I could walk right into that town, that there were no defenders. Now there's a sword here which does indicate that there are some defenders. But it's day 7. What's the very most they could have? Based off of aerial, well, it's possible that they'll have a full town there. And knowing that it's day 7, it may cost me only in the sense that they may be able to recruit 1 more dwelling worth of creatures. But I am going to go pick up these dwarves, knowing that I can fight this castle on day 1 and move forward that way. 58 up to 80 dwarves, 80 dwarves up to 108. I don't regret that decision at all. That's an extra 25 dwarves. We're going to take luck here instead of diplomacy. Because I do want 2 strong heroes, I'm going to take the experience here. It's not going to be enough to level me up, but I will take it. All the same, I'm a little concerned that this hero may get the new week's worth of units and then sally forth. I'm hoping that this amount of dwarves, it will be enough to keep me safe. I wish that this artifact, the Statesman's Quill, was in fact in Gwyneth's possession. So that way we could retreat and save many of the troops, if at all possible. There's no other dwellings I can purchase this round. I'm not going to be able to get the cathedral, and so I'm going to get level creatures 1 through 5. That's fantastic. I'm not going to pay 1,000 gold to get the opportunity to recruit 8 more peasants. Let's pick up the statue. And let's go on to the next week. Astrologers proclaim the week of the Royal Mummy. Royal Mummy's growth is +5. All dwellings increase in population. I guess I haven't mentioned this, although it's happened before. In scenario 2, it was week of the Grand Elf, and it said Grand Elf growth +5. Generally, you'll see new week, and it will be week of the Aardvark. It will be week of the, the Shrew. I don't know, some random non-mythical creature that can be recruited by a faction. And sometimes, though, it will be a unit that can be recruited by a faction. And when that does happen, the growth will increase by +5. You get week of the Dragon, and they get an extra 5 dragons available to them, or the Titans, or Giants, or even in our case, Cavaliers. If it said Cavalries +5, I would be dancing right now. But with that being said, we've got a battle to fight. Remember, we do have the auto combat on with no spells. I've thought about it, and I'm still going to keep this on. I was worried that by having the computer auto calculate who should win in their estimation, if that was influencing the way that I fought fights. I don't think that there's any way around it, though. I think I need to keep this on just for the sake of keeping the game moving right along. I am going to win this fight. I believed that going into this, and I definitely believe it now. Let's just fight this fight since it'll be the first one of the game. They have minimal defenders here in the town, 1 stack of skeletons, and then 3 stacks of 1, and then mutant zombies who have incredibly low defense skill. This shouldn't be much of a fight. They have the ballista, which will fire with the strength of 6 archers, and the moat, which reduces the movement anytime you walk onto it, and reduces the defense skill of any unit by -3. One thing that's interesting that I found out in reading the Heroes of Might and Magic 2 manual not too long ago, the ballista, the base castle defenses that will fire, in this case with the strength of 6 archers, it increases for every building you have in that town. So there's been times in my playthroughs of Heroes of Might and Magic where I say to myself, I don't really need a Thieves Guild. I'm not going to get a Thieves Guild. Well, guess what? If you get a Thieves Guild, your ballista for castle defenses is going to be more powerful. I had no idea that had any impact whatsoever. That amazed me when I saw that. So some of those kind of extra buildings that sometimes you say, well, I'm going to save the gold, or well, I don't think I really need it, they actually matter. Though every building plus every level to your mage guild will increase the strength of the ballista in a fight like this. So very interesting. I didn't know that until just recently. I did do damage to this very bottom wall with my dwarves. It'll still take 2 to get through, but for now I'm going to walk forward and hope that I get very lucky. I'm not going to walk into the moat just yet, but I'll hope I get very lucky, and next turn can perhaps walk right on through, unless the mutant zombies decide to come out and play. So with my 9 archers, this is half damage to all these creatures there. I could do full damage to the mutant zombies. They're very fast right now. They're going to have a speed of 6. They're going to go before my battle dwarves next time. I think that it'll behoove me. My thought process is this. Do I take out single stacks of these skeletons, which I'm going to have to do eventually, or do I take out their strongest stack right now as much as possible? I'm only going to kill maybe 1 or 2 mutant zombies here. I'm still going to do that, though. And indeed, I take out 1. I'm going to move the peasants into more of a defensive position. I have excellent morale. It's kicking in right now. There's my way in. And even though I think that a lot of their units will still come to me, it's worth it to me to be proactive and make them make a decision. I am going to skip on these archers. I think if I don't attack and take retaliation shots from the mutant zombies, I think 47 peasants can probably kill 3 of the mutant zombies. Yep, 3 mutant zombies. Call that quick math. Okay. And now it doesn't matter which one I attack, because the other stack will fall to retaliation or archers. Okay, so I did lose 2 more peasants in this fight. than the computer did. Oh well. I'm going to take logistics here, especially since there's nothing left to really explore on the map except a little bit in the upper right corner. I think logistics will be the most important. Let's walk in, and if they had a mage guild, that would be the very first thing I would do, would be to buy a spell book. As it stands, this castle is got nothing. It's got nothing. The best thing probably is to use it for the marketplace so I can trade things at a higher rate, and to just get the passive gold generation from having a castle here. That's an extra 1,000 gold per turn. I'm just going to wait. I'm not going to purchase any skeletons or zombies unless some other hero comes to threaten me, and I have no regrets about that. Because it's such a small map and I've got 4 slots open, I'm going to risk walking on the witch's hut. Well, pause. I am going to pick up the mage guild here in this town just because I want to have a spell book. I want to have some spells. Slow and cure, those are decent combat spells. I don't feel like that was a terrible decision. Go to the witch's hut. Basic luck, we'll take it. I might as well grab the gazebo. I don't think I'm even going to mess around with this crystal mine. And again, my main town is crystal based to get the Crusaders. I don't think that this is going to be a problem, though. I think that there's so many battle dwarves on the map that I don't need to worry myself with trying to get upper level creatures. I should be able to win this game in this week pretty much, I think. Visiting a local wise man, you explain the intent of your journey. He reaches into a sack and withdraws a yellowed scroll and hands it to you. This will be plus knowledge. This will be +3 knowledge. And then this artifact, you see a silver axe embedded deeply in the ground. After several unsuccessful attempts by your army to remove the axe, you tightly grip the handle of the axe and effortlessly pull it free. This is the power axe of Dominion, which is a +2 to attack. So all of a sudden, Gwyneth is looking pretty solid. 7 defense and 4 attack with huge stacks of the dwarves, which at this point I'm going to split into 3. I think that we should consider challenging this town, picking up these last dwarves and then heading on in. I think that it would behoove me to upgrade the most important dwellings in this town, knowing that I've only got 6 wood at this current moment. And I think that the archers are actually going to be the most valuable upgrade that I can do here. Interesting that this hero did not move at all. It doesn't, to me, it does not look like they have bought any additional troops. What could they have bought? Some more orcs, some more wolves, and some more goblins. And perhaps they did. I just didn't notice the change to the stack sizes. Oh goodness, that's an extra 20 dwarves. Let's push our advantage here. Even if they have full defenses in this castle, I still think that I should. I still think that I can take them. I'm not saying should or shouldn't right now. I probably shouldn't. I should probably wait 2 turns to combine my forces into 1. I'm not even going to give them a chance. I think we can take this with this many dwarves, more than 120 dwarves. I think we can take it. Okay. Let's fight this fight. Okay. Interesting choice. That kind of tips the AI's hand as far as what they want to do in this fight by, sure, blessing the wolves, but then putting them into more of a defensive position. That means that they are going to try and cover up their shooters as much as possible. They're going to hide behind their walls as much as possible and put the onus on me to push through the moat and to force combat here. I don't anticipate either of these troops are going to come through the main gate. I may see the pixies go and land on my archers trying to disrupt them, but for now, even the pixies don't push out. This is full defense, and so we're going to have to knock down some walls here. Knowing that the pixies can become trouble later, and they have very few hit points, even though I'm doing half damage and they have a little bit of extra defense, I'm going to attempt to take out the pixies here. Worth noting, from my most recent video, I did an intermission where I talked about attack skill and defense skill and how that worked. I'm going to quickly just reiterate how this works. You have 2 units. Let's take my archers, for example, with their attack skill of base 5 and base 3 defense. That is increased from 5 attack skill to 9 because I have 4 attack with Gwyneth the Knight. She transfers her attack skill stats to each of these stacks of troops, and so that takes the archer's attack skill from 5 to 9, and likewise her defensive bonus takes it from 3 base defense up to 10. Okay. This hero has a +2 defense, and so when this unit attacks, it will attack it at the attack skill of 9, and say these sprites here, they will defend at a 4. For every point of attack above the defender's defense skill, the attacker will do plus 10% bonus damage. So archers are attacking at a 9, pixies are defending at a 4. That means that 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, archers are going to get 50% bonus damage to the sprites. Okay? And what is the damage going to be? It's going to be between 2 to 3 damage. I forgot to mention in the video how that average is taking of the damage. You can simply call it an average. Sometimes it'll be higher and sometimes it'll be lower. Say you have a pack of rocks and they do between 4 and 8 damage. You can plan on the average being about 6 damage. But otherwise, this 2 to 3, if you have a stack of creatures of less than 10, the computer will basically roll the dice and come up with an integer for each of the creatures in that stack between their range of possible damage values. So the computer is going to take each individual archer here in this stack of less than 10, these 9 archers, and the computer is going to assign, basically it's a 50-50. Half of you are going to do 2 damage, half of you are going to do 3, or at least it's going to roll the dice. They could all do 3, they could all do 2, but chances are you're going to get an average. Just so for your edification, if their stack size is over 10, like this stack of peasants, then the computer is always only going to calculate the first 10 creatures in the stack and then take that average and apply it to the rest of the stack. It's not going to do all of the calculations for 58 dwarves. Or if you get 5,000 ghosts for some reason, it's not going to do the math for each of those 5,000 ghosts. It's just going to get the first 10 stack and then apply those results to everybody else. Okay, but I digress. 9 attack, 4 defense, plus 50 damage, 2 to 3, minus 50% of the for the penalty of shooting over the wall. Let me see if I can do the math real quick. Let's assume that I do 2.5 damage times 9. 2.5 times 9 is what? 19, 20, 24, about 24 points of damage, plus 50%. Let's call it 36 points of damage, and then let's half that. I'm guessing we're going to do about 18 points of damage to these pixies. Let's see how good or bad I am on the fly. Archers do 16 damage. So I was close. I was a little off. I don't know where my math was off. Check me in the comments. But that is a real life example of how the combat in Heroes of Might and Magic works. Because it's all multiplicative, then the might stats from a hero, the attack and the defense, they translate very, very well for the larger stacks and for upper tier creatures like level 6 or level 5 creatures that have a large effect size. Okay, I'll shut up. Looks like we have a way in at the very bottom. I think these two sets of dwarfs are going to trip over themselves trying to get in, and so I'm going to let them trip over themselves and leave this stack up here just in case something opens up at the top. I'm still going to try and take out another 8 pixies or so. That time it was less. We're going to walk into the moat here. Take out these goblins. At that point, I just want to kill the one whole stack if I possibly can. The blessed wolves actually did a terrific amount of damage, and these orcs with a defense skill of 6 against my battle dwarves with an attack skill of 10. Dwarves are going to be doing an extra 40% bonus damage, and that's going to turn out to be 194 damage. If you do the math, 56 dwarves times 4, that doesn't, do the math for me, but okay. And then let's end this fight. So I did do worse than the computer did, but I appreciate you taking the time with me to make sure that we know what's going on as we're trying to make the best decisions on the adventure map, in the battle queue, etc., etc. Let's take the leadership. Let's walk into the town, see if there's anything fun in here. There's not. I was hoping there would be a mage guild, but these towns are all very, very underdeveloped. Probably a nice thing for me, so that way I don't have to worry about fighting ludicrous amounts of troops that the enemy could throw at me. Again, I don't really plan on this map going much longer. I think at this point we're going to combine the troops from Dimitri into Gwyneth. I think since Gwyneth is level 4, she gets the first ups. She's calling the shots. And we are going to leave the peasants, send all the rest of the artifacts that way. Dimitri becomes my gopher hero, and Gwyneth is now my superstar. Next turn I'll be able to pull these dwarves in, and then Gwyneth will end Agar. Well, I wish... Hold on, what turn is it? Day 5? So it's day 5. I will potentially cost myself some advantage by going into the ruins, but I haven't had the opportunity yet, and I would really like to at some point. Ruins. You've found some Medusas living in the ruins. They are willing to join your army for a price. Do you want to recruit the Medusas? I'll say yes. For 500 gold, I can recruit this neutral type of creature from the adventure map. I am going to recruit one of them just so I can show you. Again, neutral creatures have this kind of sandy, deserty background. All neutral creatures share that background, whether it's a nomad, whether it's the rogues, whether it's elementals, etc. Great troop, by the way. 6 to 10 damage, 35 hit points, with an average speed. They're ground-based, but they also have a chance to petrify. I love Medusas. If you get the chance to use them, do it. If you get a big stack of these, they will be a welcome addition to any army. The ruins make a terrible sound. We're going to walk away from that. I don't think anybody needs to hear that. And then let's end this scenario early, in less than 2 weeks. Folks. Do I even need to fight this battle? I think not. Red player has been vanquished, and that should win this scenario. And so, with that being said, we made the decision to stick with Roland. We're not going to deviate from this path. So either this will end in the hangman's noose, or to see the king return to his full glory. Either way, it's been exciting so far. The only other thing I can note right now, just to make sure that I'm being thorough, is that the campaign at these breakpoints will always tell you in the top right corner days spent. Right now we've spent 197 turns total over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 campaigns. Why does that matter? It doesn't. Except if you're trying to go for a high score. That's one of the factors that goes into calculating your high score. The less days you spend, basically the quicker you can beat your enemies, the higher your stats go. Does it really matter? No. But for those of you who are really looking for a challenge, I challenge you right here, right now. Beat the campaign quicker than I have. I haven't been lollygagging. I haven't been dragging my feet. I think there's a lot of opportunity for you to save time and improve, but let's see what you got. I want to see what you got, and let me know how long it takes you, maybe just up to this point through the first 5 scenarios. How many days has it taken you? How many turns do you have on record? And then once we get to number 10, do the same thing. Tell me exactly how many days it took for you to get through the Roland campaign. Folks, I appreciate you coming with me on this journey, and we're going to stop right here. And next scenario will be number 6, titled Defender, and we will dive into it next time. With that being said, get out of here. Fix Fox, out.